Okay, let's dive into this case. It starts November 6, 2019. A 911 call comes in.
Right, from a woman, Banna, saying her 5-year-old daughter, Taylor, is missing.
But when you actually listen to that call, there's something, well, something's missing. The panic, the urgency you'd expect, it just isn't really there.
It's immediately unsettling, isn't it? That sort of flat effect. It definitely raises questions from the get-go.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing here, really digging into the sources, police reports, interviews to see what really happened beyond that initial call.
To piece together the facts based on the evidence gathered.
So police get to Vanna's house on Ivy Street, and the scene, also kind of strange.
Uh-huh. What did they find?
Well, the back door is unlocked. Okay, maybe willing, maybe not. But then there's a shotgun, just out, and a pistol.
Just left out in the open, with a child supposedly in the house.
Right. And even weirder, an empty gun holster on Taylor's bed, on the 5-year-old's bed.
That's incredibly disturbing.
And the house itself. It barely looked like a child lived there.
Yeah.
You know, you expect toys, drawings, maybe photos.
None of that.
Nope. Just some slippers, crackers left open. And Taylor's jacket and backpack were in the kitchen, oddly, next to some air fresheners that hadn't even been opened yet.
Air fresheners. That detail might become relevant, but the lack of typical kid stuff is striking.
Definitely. It makes you wonder about the environment Taylor was actually living in.
It certainly doesn't sound like a typical nurturing home for a young child.
Then they find this reddish-brown substance. It's on Taylor's headboard and also on her bedroom door.
Okay, so possible blood.
They did a quick field test, hemodin it's called, came back negative initially.
But they didn't just dismiss it, I hope.
No, thankfully. The officers noted it, kept it in mind. That visual stuck with them.
Good. Because initial tests aren't always conclusive, especially if some things have been cleaned.
Now, the car search. This is where things get, well, very contradictory compared to the house. Inside the house, barely anything of Taylor's. But in the car, they find her pink unicorn stuffed animal and another one she called Mr. Bear.
So her comfort items were in the car, not her room.
Exactly. It's like the car was more her space than the house. And one officer gets this hunch, decides to, smell inside the car.
What did they pick up?
Cleaning products, a strong smell. Plus, they find women's sneakers with plant matter stuck to them.
Plant matter. Interesting. And the cleaning products.
Yeah. Get this contrast. The inside of the car is cluttered, messy. But the trunk, spotless, really tidy.
Wow. Okay, so messy interior, clean trunk, cleaning smells, kids stuff. That paints a picture, doesn't it? Suggests transport, maybe? And cleaning?
It certainly makes you think. Meanwhile, outside, the search is kicking off. Neighborhood canvas, K9 units.
Any luck with the dogs finding a scent trail?
No, nothing. They brought in a helicopter, too, searched from the air. Still nothing.
So no immediate trace of her nearby.
Right. They issue an Amber Alert, but there was even a hiccup with that initially. Got the name wrong at first.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Time is so critical in those moments.
Definitely. And showing how seriously they were taking it, they stopped all trash collection in the area.
Smart move. Why?
They actually recovered the refuse trucks that had already done pickups, so investigators could literally sift through the garbage, looking for any clue.
That's thorough. A grim task, but potentially crucial. Shows they suspected foul play early on.
Okay, so the scene is raising all sorts of flags. Then they bring Bana in for a formal interview.
And her behavior. Did it match the strange 911 call?
According to the reports, yes. Very calm, almost detached.
Yeah.
The officers noted she seemed more interested in maybe taking a nap than frantic about her missing daughter.
That is highly unusual. I mean, everyone handles stress differently, but seeming indifference is a major red flag for investigators.
Totally. So she gives her initial story of the morning, alarm at 5:30 a.m. She gets up a bit before 6, gets dressed.
Just her and Taylor, then.
That's what she says. Claims Taylor usually gets up too. Then she notices the back door is unlocked.
And that's when she supposedly discovered Taylor missing.
Yeah, she says she went to Taylor's baby bed, found her gone, checked the closet, looked around the house, even under the car outside.
Under the car, okay.
And throughout this whole account, analysts noted, her voice lacked almost any emotion, just flat.
The lack of emotional markers is significant when recounting such a potentially traumatic event.
Then the timeline starts getting shaky. She says she last saw Taylor around midnight.
Midnight.
Yeah, claims Taylor put herself to bed then.
A 5-year-old putting herself to bed at midnight? That doesn't sound typical.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
And it gets stranger. Banna then says she heard dragging noises.
Dragging noises. From where?
Well, first she says from upstairs. But it's a single-story house. There is no upstairs.
Wait, what? How did she explain that?
She then kind of corrects, maybe says from the roof, it's unclear,
Mm.
but her reaction is the key part.
What did she do?
She says she grabbed her gun because of the noise, but didn't go check on Taylor.
Grabbed a gun, but didn't check on her 5-year-old daughter after hearing strange noises. That makes absolutely no sense.
None. Oh, and she adds that Taylor's bedroom window had bars on it.
Bars on the window. So unlikely someone came in or out that way. This story is full of holes.
Big holes.
Yeah.
And the guns being out, remember those?
Yeah, what was her reason for that?
She claimed there'd been a recent break-in, but she'd also said she didn't like having guns around Taylor.
So contradicting herself again. Trying to justify things that don't fit.
Seems like it. Then she mentions Mr. Bear, Taylor's pink teddy.
The one found in the car.
Yes. Vanna makes a point of saying Taylor wouldn't go anywhere without Mr. Bear, which becomes important later given where he was and maybe wasn't.
Right. Establishing that attachment is key. If Taylor was abducted, you'd maybe expect Mr. Bear to be with her, or left behind in her bed, not in the car.
Now, the move. Remember, they'd only been in the Ivy Street house for 3 days.
Okay. Pretty recent.
But it turns out, Vanna had been paying rent on 2 places since June. That Ivy Street house and an apartment across town for 6 months.
Paying for 2 residences for half a year. Why?
Her reason? She said she finally found movers on Craigslist to help her make the move, after 6 months of paying double rent.
That sounds incredibly thin, doesn't it? There has to be more to that story.
You'd think so. And her stories about where Taylor had been just keep shifting.
More inconsistencies.
Loads. First, she says Taylor had been staying with Vanna's mom in Alabama, and she'd just picked her up on Halloween about a week earlier.
Okay, so supposedly just reunited.
Then she mentions Taylor attended the Child Development Center, the CDC, on the Navy base, but records show she hadn't been there since May.
May? That's a big gap. What about school or anything else?
Well, she mentioned speech therapy too, but that also stopped back in May, apparently due to no-shows.
So multiple sources indicating Taylor hadn't been seen in usual places since May, but Vanna's claiming she just picked her up from Alabama a week ago.
Exactly. The timeline is just falling apart.
It really is.
And it gets worse. Vanna claims Taylor saw her grandmother, Carissa, recently.
The mom in Alabama.
Yes. But when the police talk to Carissa, she says she hasn't seen Taylor since January. Not recently. January. 2 years before this interview.
2 years? That's a massive discrepancy. Not just weeks or months. Years.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, Vanna seems to be lying about Taylor being in Alabama.
It certainly looks that way. A very deliberate deception, it seems.
And remember her saying she doesn't like leaving Taylor with just anyone.
Yeah, I didn't want guns around her, careful about who watches her.
Yet she tells police she had arranged for some woman she found on Craigslist to babysit Taylor that very day.
The day she went missing. After saying she just got her back and is careful about sitters, that doesn't track at all.
Not even slightly. Then investigators look at Vanna's phone.
Find anything interesting.
Oh, yeah. Messages with an old coworker back in Virginia. In those messages, Vanna says Taylor had become a nightmare while down in Alabama.
A nightmare. So much for the happy reunion story she told police. That paints a very different picture of her feelings towards her daughter.
Completely different. And remember, the Craigslist movers.
The ones she supposedly just found after 6 months.
Yes. Police interviewed them. They stated very clearly they never saw a child, never saw Taylor at either the apartment or the new house during the move. Never saw her get put in the car.
Wow. So the movers directly contradict Vanna's claim that Taylor was with her during the move? That's huge.
Huge. It means potentially no one besides Vanna had seen Taylor for, maybe a long time.
Since May, perhaps, based on the CDC and therapy records.
It's looking increasingly likely. Then, police talked to a neighbor from the old apartment complex, a guy named Carlos Johnson.
And what did he say?
He reported finding Taylor wandering around the complex all by herself back in April 2019. Just wandering alone.
A 5-year-old. Oh, my goodness.
And he also saw her waving from the apartment window sometimes when Vanna's car wasn't there.
So evidence of prior neglect, being left alone.
Seems like it. It adds another disturbing layer to the situation before the disappearance.
Definitely. Okay, so the movers didn't see her. The neighbor saw her alone previously. What about that apartment she moved out of? Did police search there?
They did. And the conditions they found?
Yeah.
Honestly, they're described as horrific.
How bad?
Trash everywhere. Just piled up, blocking the entryway, filling the kitchen, the living room.
Just general mess, or something worse.
Worse, they found toys, clothes, stained with what looked like feces. Possibly Mr. Bear was among those items found in that state.
Oh, that poor child. And Mr. Bear found like that.
It's heartbreaking, and they also found bleach, urine remover, and more of those unopened air fresheners like the ones at the new house.
Trying to clean or cover up smells, maybe, in that environment.
It certainly suggests that. And the master bedroom, investigators said it was even worse.
How could it be worse?
More trash, soiled clothes blocking the doorway. The carpet was described as encrusted with filth, possibly human waste. And then the closet.
What about the closet?
The details from inside that closet became central to the investigation. The conditions were apparently beyond belief, pointing to something truly terrible happening there.
It sounds like the focal point of something awful.
Given everything, the investigation ramps up massively. It's not just local anymore.
Who else got involved?
Jacksonville Sheriffs, the Alabama Bureau of Investigation, FBI, even NCIS, because Banna was in the Navy.
Okay, so a major multi-agency effort that signals how serious the suspicions were.
Absolutely. And all this time, Banna's at the police station. How's she acting?
Still calm? Or was she starting to crack?
Reports say she was. Bizarrely nonchalant, seen fixing her nails, redoing her hair, and just
Breathing. Well, her daughter's missing and multiple agencies are searching.
Yeah, and apparently never asking for updates, not once. Just seemed completely unconcerned.
That's chillingly detached behavior, hard to comprehend for a parent.
They tried using controlled calls. Had her father, Wayne, and friends Chelsea and Doral call her while police listened in.
Did she open up to them? Give anything away?
Nope. Still uncooperative, still sounded totally unconcerned. Her friends, Chelsea and Doral, were basically pleading with her.
What did they say?
They pointed out that the initial media buzz, the coverage on Taylor, was fading. They begged her, just say something, Banna, help find her. But nothing.
Wow. Even pleas from friends didn't seem to reach her.
Because of all this inconsistencies, the behavior, the evidence, police put her under constant surveillance.
On the clock.
And just 5 days after reporting Taylor missing, they see her donating Taylor's belongings.
Donating them already.
Yes, stuffed animals, clothes, even unopened toys, getting rid of them.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it? Giving away her things just days later. It suggests she knew Taylor wasn't coming back.
It's incredibly incriminating behavior. And remember the trash search?
Yeah, the police sifting through garbage. Did they find anything connected to Banna?
They did. Found a box addressed to her, Navy certificates, notes from Taylor's daycare asking for clothes, a toothbrush, basic care items.
So evidence Taylor was around, at least at some point, and needed things.
Exactly. And the most heartbreaking find, a handmade card from Taylor to her mother, discarded in the trash.
Oh no, throwing away something like that? Oh, why? Unless you're trying to erase every trace.
It's deeply disturbing. Back at the apartment, the focus zooms in on that closet.
The one with the horrific conditions?
Yes. There was this awful, persistent smell. Weird stains on the walls, the carpet, and baking soda sprinkled all over the rug.
Baking soda. Trying to absorb the odor, right. What about the stains?
They used luminol, you know, the chemical that reveals hidden blood traces.
Did it react?
It did. Got positive reactions glowing on numerous stains in that closet area, suggesting blood had been there, even if someone tried to clean it.
Okay, so physical evidence potentially pointing to violence in that specific spot.
Then they brought in the dogs, the cadaver dogs, trained for human remains.
Could they work through the general smell of the apartment?
It was tough at first, the reports say. The sheer stench of trash and waste was overwhelming.
But did they alert?
Yes. Crucially, they took the carpet that had been removed from the closet outside. The dog alerted strongly on that piece of carpet.
Definitive alert on the closet carpet anywhere else.
Yes. And this is significant. The dogs also alerted inside Banna's car, 3 separate areas. The driver's seat, the rear passenger area, and the trunk.
Alerting in the car, too. That connects the potential crime scene in the closet directly to the vehicle. Powerful evidence.
Very powerful. And inside the trunk where the dog alerted, remember how tidy it was?
Yeah, spotless compared to the rest of the car.
They found more. A whitish residue, a broken fingernail, and an air freshener jammed somewhere, the same brand as the unopened ones at the house.
Residue, fingernail, matching air freshener, more clues.
And that strong smell of cleaning chemicals was still present. Plus, they collected samples of reddish dirt from the trunk.
And did they match it to anything?
Yes. Lab analysis matched it to soil.
Alabama, where she claimed she picked Taylor up, but where her mother hadn't seen Taylor in years. The dirt links the car directly there.
Exactly. It's like all the pieces are pointing in one direction. And remember, Banna's mother, Carissa.
The one who hadn't seen Taylor. What about her?
She'd made a statement earlier, kind of chilling. Said she worried Banna might have flipped a switch. Mentioned Banna having extreme reactions, like over her father thanking his girlfriend once.
Suggesting a potential for volatility, unpredictability.
It seems so.
Yeah.
Paints a picture of someone possibly unstable under stress.
Which might explain some of the inexplicable actions.
So with all this evidence mounting the dogs, the luminol, the car, the timeline, the lies, police are ready to move. But as they're coordinating, Banna's picked up by her Navy chief to be taken somewhere. She apparently suffers a seizure, falls into a coma, right as things are closing in.
Wow. A sudden medical crisis at the most critical moment.
Very dramatic. But the investigation doesn't stop. They get GPS data from her car.
The electronic trail. What did it show?
It confirmed multiple trips down to Linden, Alabama, between October 31st Halloween and November 3rd, just days before she reported Taylor missing.
So she was in Alabama, just like the dirt suggested. Did she go near her mother's place?
The data showed she was nearby, yes, but never actually went to her mother's residence, confirms Carissa's account.
And the car wash stop? Was that on the GPS?
Yep, stopped at a car wash during that Alabama trip, trying to clean the car, perhaps.
Consistent with the cleaning smells and the tidy trunk, did the GPS show any other significant stops?
One very significant stop, a 20-minute pause. On that specific, secluded dirt road, right near the cemetery where Banna's own grandmother was buried.
The same area where the soil in the trunk came from, near her grandmother's grave? That's incredibly specific and ominous.
Extremely. So, search teams focused on that area in Alabama.
And did they find anything?
They did. It's heartbreaking. They found a trash bag wrapped inside a shower curtain.
Oh no, what was in it?
A child's t-shirt covered decomposition stains.
And Taylor?
Nearby, scattered likely due to animals, they found bones. Bone fragments, part of a child's skull, a clump of human hair, suspected immediately to be Taylor's remains.
Just devastating, the end of the search. Tragic confirmation.
It was. And back on the base, after Banna was hospitalized for the seizure.
Yeah, what happened with her?
It's believed she ingested laundry detergent while in her quarters. A suspected suicide attempt.
After the remains were likely found, or before?
Seems to be around the time the evidence was becoming overwhelming. She eventually recovered from the coma.
Did they try to interview her again then?
One last time. But she just remained silent, offered nothing.
Yeah.
Then apparently just fell back asleep during the interview.
Complete shutdown, no confession, no explanation.
None. Then on November 25th, the official confirmation came. DNA testing proved the remains found in Alabama were Taylor's.
So absolute certainty.
Yes. And the charges against Banna were upgraded. From child neglect and false information to murder.
A fitting charge, given the evidence.
The state of the remains, though, only about 10% were recovered. Very decomposed. It made things difficult.
Like determining the exact cause of death.
Exactly. Impossible to say for sure. Same for the precise time of death. But they could analyze the teeth, the skull fragments.
And what did that analysis show?
Clear, undeniable signs of severe chronic malnutrition.
Malnutrition. So she was starving.
The evidence pointed strongly towards it. Based on that and the condition of the remains, they estimated the time of death was likely sometime between May 2019, when she stopped being seen, and November 2019.
A potential 6-month window of suffering, malnutrition.
It paints a truly horrific picture. Investigators considered the possibility, given the closet conditions of malnutrition, that Taylor might have essentially starved to death.
Locked in that closet. Oh, that's just unthinkable.
Left in those conditions described in the apartment. It's almost too horrific to contemplate. A slow, terrible death, potentially caused by extreme neglect.
Just unimaginable cruelty. What happened with Banna legally? Did it go to trial?
It didn't go to a full trial. In September 2022, Banna pleaded guilty.
Guilty to what charge?
Second-degree murder.
Oh.
Her attorney argued for a lesser sentence, pointing to her Navy service record.
But the judge?
The judge wasn't swayed. Banna received a life sentence in prison.
A life sentence. Legal accountability, at least. But still such a profoundly sad outcome.
It really is. This whole deep dive, it's just tragic from start to finish. And even with all this information pulled from the sources, you're left with questions, aren't you?
Definitely. The exact cause of death remains unknown. What precisely caused those stains in the closet? Some details are just lost.
But what stands out, I think, is how all those small details we talked about, the unlocked door, the guns, the air fresheners, the difference between the car and the house, Mr. Bear's location, all those lies Banna told.
Each one on its own might seem explainable, maybe, but taken together?
Together they built this unavoidable, horrifying picture. Step by step, the inconsistencies and the physical evidence just dismantled her story and pointed towards the truth.
It really highlights how meticulous investigation, following every thread, even the trash, can uncover what someone desperately tried to hide.
It does. And it forces you, doesn't it, to confront just the awful reality of what can happen, the complexity of why a parent would do this, the complete failure to protect. It's profoundly disturbing.
It's a stark reminder, isn't it, of how vulnerable children are and the immense weight of parental responsibility. You see the devastating consequences when that bond breaks down so catastrophically.
Leaves you thinking about the darkness that's possible. What could lead someone to that point? We can't know her mind, but the outcome is just devastating.
Absolutely. And it reinforces why vigilance, why community awareness, why intervention systems are so critical to try and prevent tragedies like this before they reach such an awful end.
So, as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe think about what detail, what piece of evidence stood out most to you. This case is just one example, sadly, of such tragedies. Exploring further, understanding the dynamics. It's difficult, but maybe necessary.